Thanks for joining me. My name is Elysabeth Alfano, and I've been working in the visual arts for over 15 years. Either in my art gallery or in my accessories design business, I've met hundreds of artists over the years. Painters, designers, glassblowers, chefs, all working from their tiny closed-off studios. Join me on Fear No Art Chicago and let's go behind the scenes to check out all that's being made and get into the hearts and minds and souls of Chicago's artists. I love theater and I love dance, but it's been about 25 years since I've seen a puppet show. When I heard that puppeteer Blair Thomas creates riveting, complex, sophisticated puppet shows for adults, I had no idea what that meant. Let's check out the offbeat studio of puppeteer Blair Thomas. Hi, Blair.
Hello, Elizabeth.
How did you get into the world of puppets, and why did you get into the world of puppets?
Well, this is in some ways a difficult question to answer. After studying and becoming more kind of a serious adult and working in the theater, I thought an opportunity to make a puppet show, and I had no idea how to do it. And so I got a balloon and I inflated the balloon and put flour and paper mache on it, made this little puppet, and then I came up with this show, and this is a long time ago. This is like 20 years ago or so, and I created a first show as an adult. And for me, it was this experience like I had stepped into a forest, which possibilities were endless. And I just realized, oh, I am in my proper place in the universe. This is what I should do.
So what drives the puppets? Is it the story that you have in your head first, or is it the desire to create a character?
For me, it's not so character-based. It's definitely story-based, but it's also material-based. Like, I'm really interested in the materials that I make the puppets and then the scenery out of. That's really, and so I'm interested in the fabrication of a miniature world. When I made a show based with these puppets, I had this desire to create a show that existed entirely between in the space between my two hands here. So I have these guys, and the thing that I pretty discovered was that they can make these great noise. I make them out of wood, and I actually came out of that because I'm just sitting around and rehearsing, and just started to do that, and it became interesting to me.
So you sort of create organically then?
There's a lot of the best stuff is something that kind of connects in that kind of way.
What sort of disbelief is required of the audience? Because when I think of puppetry, I think of somebody who is manipulating the puppet, and so for the audience to watch a show, they have to suspend their disbelief at some point and just go with the puppet as a character.
Right. Yes, it's true. It happens the moment the puppet makes an entrance onto the stage. It's like the introduction of the puppet, and you sort of see it, and you start to create a relationship. The audience is just creating a relationship. Like, you give the, okay, I will grant you the possibility that you're going to pretend to have life to you, right? And then that becomes this dialogue as the performance ensues. That's a very magical moment because it can look like it is alive, like it can start to have an uncanny quality to it in a very classical sense, something that looks like something that has come out of our unconscious in a way.
Well, that's what's amazing to me, is that adults are willing to suspend that belief. They're willing to give it over to the puppet.
Right.
And I mean, I'm surprised myself how mesmerized I am by the puppets, and I can't actually explain why. Why am I so taken with the puppets?
Yeah, it's true, there's a fascination. And I have a fascination too, even the most simple puppet.
More basic puppets, yeah.
There's something, it's clearly moves its arm. I mean, no one walks around like this,
Not today.
And so somehow we understand its limitations as we see it. We see, oh, it's inanimate. But then every once in a while it replicates what we recognize to be real, and you kind of go back and forth with that, and that's when it becomes kind of a thrilling thing to see that happen.
So now you have smaller puppets here, but I see some very large.
It's true. I have
characters over there.
I'm interested in different scales and different traditions of the puppet theater. Essentially, you have a doll that's like a ventriloquist dummy. You got a little control here in the back. This puppet, in its capacity, be operated by a single puppeteer instead of 3 people. So that's the idea with this, is that he's...
Oh, right, I see he's operated solely by you.
Yeah, and then how can he walk, and how can he move his arms? A little bit of movement like that communicates a life. And likewise, it turns out the neck is like the most important place to reveal life in a puppet. So there's up and down here, and then there's back and forth. And then this particular puppet can also then close his eyes too.
Oh, yes. Right. And you see, I want him to be alive. Right. I think that's the connection I'm looking for. When he finally shows me some life, I really want to believe it. Do you find that when you leave your studio and you go home, that you carry with you the voice of these different characters or puppets?
The place I live in is less the voices than the world that they're living in.
So you don't see this really as a person then, to you?
He's actually a little bit of an extension of me.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's not really someone else.
Oh, that's cool. So if a lot of puppets are extensions of you, how many extensions of you do you have?
Well, it's kind of like if you have a dream, right? And you dream about, and you have a bunch of people in your dream.
Yes.
There's no one in your dream who's not you.
Right.
Because how could someone be in your dream? They can't. It's only your...
So somehow every puppet is you.
There's something about all these characters that's a part of me.
So the puppet theater for you is your dream world?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great place to live. It's a great place to live.
Great place to escape to, yes, for sure. You have to really be able to be ridiculous and silly to work in a puppet theater.
Do you feel ridiculous and silly?
Yeah. You have to be fully willing to be humiliated.
Humiliated?
Yeah, because like this, and this is actually a helpful, opportunity for anyone to be in a situation where you become humiliated, because then it gives you a certain grounding if you go there.
Do you create these scenes and worlds for an audience, or do you really create for yourself?
That's a good question. I have to do what I'm doing. So if it's not going to function in the economy and I'm not going to be able to do it, that's one thing, but I'm still going to end up doing it. What delights me will, I think, be appreciated by the audience. And this is delightful for me to go, this is, so how do I put it in the show? Then you also you've got to go a little further than that. What can provide meaning for people? Because as a performing artist, this is what one of our roles is, to provide meaning and context for people.
You're such a troubadour, because you sort of take your story and your music and your puppets and, you perform all over the place. I wonder, the position of being a puppeteer, does that mean you are in a position to be joyful all the time?
No.
No? No?
There's always obstacles that you have to overcome. And sometimes they're like extreme limitations of budget. Oh, you can't hire anyone. No, you have to, there's some materials, and so that creates levels of unhappiness, I guess you could say. And so it's our challenges. And then also it's just, no one really is that interested in the puppet theater. I have to, it's not like people are like, hey, where's the puppet theater? Where's that guy? Instead, I'm like, I'm the puppeteer.
I went upstairs to see the doctor. It is very bad, he said. So I went downstairs to see my baby, and Lord, she was lying there dead.
Well, you certainly were a mischievous and dastardly narrator. Oh, and a smoker.
I'm a smoker too.
Thank you for opening me up to the world of puppetry. My world will now never be the same.
Anytime you want to come by, Elizabeth.
There's an artist and a creative spirit around every corner and in every alleyway. Join me on the next Fear No Art Chicago as we get into the unique and fascinating world of the independent artist.
For more information, visit fearnoartchicago.com.
Oh, it's quite a nose. Yeah.
You like to. I mean, you could just put a piece of cardboard on a stick and run down the street, and people go, "Oh my God, it's a puppet."
Joan would sit on the stage, and she would do nothing. Whoops. You want to join them? They're just building a portrait in contact.
And just go in and then get out. 14!
The idea of preparing for some career where I had to dress up and put a tie on every day, it's like, you got to be out of your mind. I had a lot of jobs. I was the most fired human being on the planet.
Somehow I can see this.